Hello and welcome. Another edition of Coach's Corner, and we're going to continue on the theme of the NCAA Division III programs across the country. Of course, being a New England resident and born and raised in the greater Massachusetts area, Division III is very prominent throughout the Northeast, East Coast. And so I thought we'd continue and stay on this topic, add a little insight for parents and families that are currently at the high school level looking to expand their knowledge with regard to the NCAA Division III space. And today we're going to talk the Little East Conference. And, I think they have one or two national championships. I know they've been to the College World Series at the NCAA Division III level in Appleton, Wisconsin, a couple of times under former coach Ed Flaherty. But today we're going to talk with former UMaine Black Bear, uh, lifelong resident of Maine and from Westport, Maine, head coach of Southern Maine University, Scott Heath. Scotty, thank you for taking the time to join me today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. It's such a prestigious program, and what Coach Flaherty has built here. With the two national championships, I think 9 or 10 College World Series appearances, and um, it's a premier program like you're kind of talking about, and it's well known in the Northeast for sure.
Well, and that's kind of the little secret that everybody's been able to keep, but hopefully we can shed some light on that today. Now, I would love for you to talk a little bit about what makes the campus, like what makes Southern Maine attractive, not only from a baseball student athlete perspective, but from a student perspective, spending their 4 or 5 year undergraduate career at Southern Maine University.
Yeah, well, it's actually a split campus. So there's a campus in Gorham, Maine, which is a little bit rural. And all the athletics are on Gorham, and then there's a another piece of campus in Portland, which is 20 minutes away, and that's almost downtown Portland, where you kind of experience a little bit of both sides of Maine. Where you have Portland, Maine, a lot going on. Obviously, an up and coming city, and well known in New England. And then you have Gorham, which is a little bit quieter, uh, a little bit different kind of lifestyle. And so you kind of get to experience the best of both worlds when you come up here to Southern Maine. And obviously, what makes the place special is the people. The people care. You have support throughout the communities. We're obviously directly tied with the Southern Maine community and baseball throughout the state. But the people here care. They want to see you be successful. They want to see you win, and that's what makes the place great.
One of the things that I try to explain to parents is, and you're a former Division I player, so you can add some insight to this. Uh, you know, Also, just not to toot Coach Heath's horn here, but he was the Gatorade Player of the Year. So you're talking about somebody that played the game, was very talented, and now is a head coach at the NCAA Division III level. Talk a little bit about the caliber of play within the Little East. I think a lot of people instinctively want to start to, when we talk college athletics, SEC, ACC, but really the Little East, and if we talk about the new MAC and the NESCAT, Division III athletics are extremely challenging. Really, a lot of talent up and down all of the rosters within the Little East. Former national champion Eastern Connecticut, I think they won it maybe 3 or 4 years ago. You got a former Division I coach and Coach Blood at Keene State down in New Hampshire. Talk a little bit about not only Southern Maine's roster, but the rosters that you face day in and day out within the Little East.
Yeah, for sure. I think coming from the University of Maine, I was obviously in the middle of mid-major, Division I baseball, and you saw the game start to change and grow a little bit, especially post-COVID. So when I first got here, I wasn't exactly sure what I was getting my, you know, feet into, really. And just seeing teams play, and playing a good schedule here, and within the conference, obviously, with those great coaches that you kind of talk about, great coaches and programs, like there's a ton of talent here, and there's I think sometimes like people take the Division III, hey, this is for granted, I can go there and play. Well, like there's a lot of good baseball players here, and a lot of good recruiters, and it's not a sure thing like, hey, you go here and you're going to be inserted into the middle of the lineup. Like you still got to go out there and perform. And I think part of what makes this conference so great is obviously the coaches, but like there's such a history of teams winning national championships here, teams going, making runs in postseason play. There is, a ton of talent here, and it has the chance to be a multi-bid league. And just kind of, looking at our roster a little bit and what was kind of left for me, I think we kind of are going through our ups and downs a little bit, but like you go in league play, like guys that were pitching Division I baseball, 5-6 years ago are now pitching here, and it's one thing to kind of swallow your pride and be like, hey, where do I have the best opportunity for my career to go play? And I think you kind of see with the transfer portal now and everything kind of going on, and the roster size shrinking at Division I, that there's going to be a lot of kids here. There's going to be a lot of kids who want the opportunity to go play college baseball. And I think the league and obviously the other leagues that you mentioned, the NUMAC, and you obviously have Endicott and the, other league, and then, the NESCACs, like there's going to be better and better baseball players here. And I think it's going to be common. And, I'm excited to see it kind of grow moving forward.
One of the things I would love for you to discuss, and when I talk to parents and student athletes across the country, they're all under the assumption that, oh, geez, Southern Maine's not going to recruit me. I'm from Pennsylvania. I'm from Georgia. I'm from Texas, what have you. But really, not only at Southern Maine, but all of college baseball at all levels, both NCAA, NAIA, and obviously JUCO, talent is being dispersed across the country, and college coaches are looking for quality athletes of character, competitive ability with regard to the classroom, and obviously between the lines. But what are some of the attributes that you're looking for with regard to a student athlete at Southern Maine? Because you're not looking for a guy that says, oh, I want to play Division III. You're looking for athletes that aspire to play baseball at a high level for a long time. So talk a little bit about when you're out recruiting, what catches your eye as a head coach.
Yeah, character is obviously huge, and when it comes to a lot of my initial conversations that I have with recruits, and I really tell them we're about three things, and it's guys who value their education, who want to get a good education, can take care of their work in the classroom, guys who are competitive, who I think are tough kids who want to go out there and win, and guys, lastly, guys who love the game, guys who you take baseball away from them, it changes their life. Like I want to be surrounded with a group of people and kids who like baseball is extremely important piece to them. And those are the kind of the three things I talk about and who I really want in my program. And it's very evident right away, if the kid kind of is like, hey, that really fits me, we have great conversation. And for guys where baseball isn't the end all be all for them, or hey, they're chasing something else, our conversations usually don't go anywhere. So those are the three big things I'm looking for. And it's, you have to love it to be here, because you do deal with challenges in Division III baseball, no ifs, ands, or buts, or about it. But if you're surrounded with a group of guys who loves it as much as you do and are passionate for it, it makes my job a lot easier.
And I want kind of expand on that. And I think a lot of times parents and athletes, and we have rankings and everybody, I'm a Division One, and we get so caught up in that. And I get it. Kids like to dream and dream big, but I would love for you to talk about what it takes. Having been a student athlete yourself, both as a Division One and as a professional athlete, talk about the mindset, being able to flush yesterday and be present in the now today, because in a conference like the Little East, there's no layups. It's not like you can take a day off or take an at bat off. It's every pitch, every inning of every game. And talk about that mindset and the strength needed mentally to be a true college student athlete.
Yeah, it's a lot, and I think a lot of the kids who come here and go play college baseball are some of the better players on their travel or high school teams, and they don't deal with failure right away. You know,
Right.
whereas you come into college baseball, all of a sudden, like, hey, you're no longer the best player, and you're going to fail at certain points, and you're going to deal with probably, and there's only a few guys that go in and play right away, no matter what place they're at. You're gonna deal with, hey, how do I be a good teammate? How do I learn and sit on the bench? How do I push my team to be the best it can be? And I think there is a certain mental maturity that it takes, to go in and help your program, no matter where you are, and be able to deal with the failure. And you see a lot of freshmen who become sophomores who go through that stuff, and now all of a sudden they're acting like seniors, and there's guys it doesn't go that way for as well, and guys where it doesn't really pan out for. But if you can kind of come in with an open mind and just be ready to work and help your program, I think that's what it's all about, and you grow as a person doing that too.
So my next question, and I think you're the right guy and right coach to ask. A lot of times when we start to think about baseball, high school baseball, travel baseball, we talk California, Florida, Texas, Louisiana, Georgia, but the New England states offer elite athletes, student athletes. But they're built different because they have that mindset. They're not adverse to the cold weather, the raw, windy days. It's part of how we grow up. It's part of how we perform during athletic. But can you just talk about having that dedication and that discipline, knowing that every game is going to be a game against a competitor, a warrior mindset? And talk about that at the Division III level. We think it's just Division I athletes, but there are a lot of scouts coming to Division III games. There's a lot of, in today's world with transfer portal, there's a lot of college coaches looking at Division III athletes, largely due to their mental resilience and the determination and the competitor factor as an athlete. Can you talk a little bit about that with regard to not only Southern Maine, but the Little East Conference?
Yeah, kind of start here in high school, but like a lot of New England kids and a lot of the kids that, I recruit and we recruit as a coaching staff and we who ultimately decide they want to be a part of this is, multi-sport athletes,
Right.
guys,
Bingo.
guys who aren't playing baseball year round. They may be in the cages and working on their craft, nine out of the 12 months, but they are playing multiple sports too. And it kind of gives them a diverse, it gives you a diverse athlete who really has the ability to kind of develop once they start focusing on baseball full time and going through your program just kind of speaking on behalf of the conference. We played Keene State last weekend, and they rolled out a team that Coach Blood kind of came in and built, and they're athletic, they're tough, they want to win every single pitch, and it takes certain guys to be able to go out there and be able to do that. And, I think it's a testament, obviously, to the coaches in the conference, but, who we are, and the types of kids that come to these state schools, like the UMass Boston, like the Eastern Connecticut, the Keene State, like there's special kids here, and a lot of them are tough multi-sport athletes growing up, and then they come in and they take off in baseball. And obviously today with the transfer portal, you see guys from this conference, you know, I don't want to say getting poached, but like they're going to play Division I baseball and they're having a lot of success doing it, where they're playing early on in their career and developing, and now all of a sudden Division I schools are going to be like, hey, who's this kid? Who's this kid? Who's this kid? Because that's just the new age of where we're at in college baseball today. So
And one of the probably the most misunderstood and probably most the absolute what I consider to be best kept secret with regard to scouts. Parents seem to think like if I do Division III, I want to play professional base. My son wants to play professional. Oh, by the way, there's lots of scouts at Division III games, and you know that from being in Maine. There's lots of scouts that spend a lot of time in that state. But just talk about whether you're sending your guys out to summer leagues, and college summer leagues, or whether they're going out, going to tryout camps that major league teams put on. There's a lot of talent that is at the Division III level that is being aggressively scouted and evaluated by major league scouts.
yeah, no doubt. And you go back, to kind of the teams that Coach Flaherty had built here. There was professional players up and down the line. There was Division I players in the lineup. You go back to Sam Dexter, for instance.
Right.
Ended up getting drafted here out of Southern Maine as a shortstop, and he's still playing baseball right now. There's a ton of talent here. And regardless of how the game has changed and where it continues to go, I think we're gonna still be able to get those types of players, and maybe even more with roster restrictions moving forward.
Right.
And it's almost like the new path is like, hey, go play, see what happens. And now with the NIL stuff and all that fun stuff coming out, like, if the option is there for you moving forward, and you're that good of a player, like, people know so
Well, one of the things that I know you do, and Southern Maine has done for a long time, is the camp. And a lot of parents have the perception, oh, they're a money grab. But whether it's at Gorham, you're close to Portland, but Portland is a very vibrant seaport type of community. Gorham is, like you had alluded to, a beautiful, picturesque, scenic, quintessential New England town. So when you get your parents on campus, is this something where you're beginning your recruiting process, you're evaluating skill sets, and getting the families to know you as much as you are knowing them?
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. And especially when we have visits, camps, anything along those lines. A lot of people who have really never been to Southern Maine, see the place and they're like, holy, this is beautiful. Like, and they go see our facility, Ed Flaherty Field, and it is a Division I facility.
Amen.
And
Yes.
you got the beautiful, all natural surface that was just redone a couple of years ago. The grandstand, with individual seating, the bricks, it's a beautiful place. And a lot of programs would really die for the facility. And they come here and they're like, wow, this is the real deal, and I think one thing I really like to stress, is if you're coming here for the facility only, you're coming here for the wrong reason. Like,
Right.
you are coming here for the program and what we think our connection can be in our relationship, and what we can kind of do for you and develop you as a baseball player. But the facilities kind of top it off. And then, you have Portland right here. Obviously a ton going on, and it makes it a really unique place, to play.
So, how are you? Are you now recruiting from a wider area? I mean, how does a potential student athlete and their parents reach out and contact you or a staff member? Is it an email, social media? What do you prefer as far as how they contact and initiate contact with you?
I really prefer email, and for guys that are interested in Southern Maine, send an email, send video. I will spend a ton of time throughout New England this summer recruiting, and kind of seeing the landscape. Obviously coming from the University of Maine, I was a bit more national, and we did a lot with some of the out west. I think you can see some of the guys there now having a lot of success are from JUCOs in California. We did some stuff out there, but I'm really gonna really try to hammer down and spend a lot of time in New England this summer, and just kind of see how the landscape kind of unfolds, because I don't think anyone's 100% certain that, hey, this is how it's going to go. I think there'll be less and less high school kids, going and playing Division I baseball, which I think opens the door a lot for us to, get that athlete who's we can develop here and turn into one of those guys, that professional teams know about, by the time they're juniors and seniors.
Well, you used a word there, and I was going to end on that, but I have to ask this one additional question and use the word development and develop. And that's really something that I think that a lot of athletes are missing. Sometimes there are schools and programs where you're not given the time to mature and develop both mentally and physically. But having been a former Division III head coach and now you're in this space, that's really the benefit of Division III. It's a quantum leap to go from high school to NCAA baseball at any level, and developing both physically and mentally and maturing into the athlete that you're capable of becoming is something that you at Southern Maine are able to do and spend time on, which is going to benefit student athletes. Talk a little bit about that development piece.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head when you say physically develop and mentally develop. Like
Right.
it's a two-headed horse, because like we kind of talked about, it takes a lot of maturity to come out here day in and day out and have success. And I think we have a really good plan set up, for the future, as far as individual positions go and skills developing and things along those lines, but also the mental side of the game as well. And understanding that you're coming here to not only be a better baseball player, but a better person as well. And I've been a Division I pitching coach, for 6 years, so I've spent a ton of time with the pitchers. I'm getting to really kind of set the plan in place I want for the position players now. And I actually have a former player on staff as a pitching coach now. Former player at Maine. And I truly think the development that you'll get here is going to be second to almost nobody. I know there's a ton of programs that do a really good job when you start talking about, Endicott, Salve, how they kind of develop guys. But we think we can turn this place into a developmental program where guys are coming in, getting better, whether they're a pitcher, position player, doesn't really matter, and get the most out of their careers.
I didn't think you were going to go there, but you hit on a topic, and I really want to get this out there for parents of pitchers. As the parent of a pitcher, when I'm talking to parents, the number one thing that I stress we all want to focus on velocity. There's so many people, social media, and they arm farms and velo doctors and all of this stuff. But if you could share your thoughts as a coach that has taught elite level pitchers, the transition from high school to college, you deal with three very specific major obstacles. One, size of the strike zone. In high school, you're going to have a wider, bigger strike zone. In college, it's a shoebox. It's really, really challenging. Two, you have to be able to execute a secondary pitch in a plus count. 2-1, 3-1, 3-0. You can't be hammering middle fastballs, and serving them up on a tee. You have to learn how to be able to, work both sides of the plate, but in hitters counts. And the last thing I would like for you talk about that transition from high school to college is you're going to give up hits. You're going to get hit. You're going to get hit hard. You have to be able to grind and pitch to contact and not fear contact, because contact can be your friend as a high level pitcher at the college level. Can you talk a little bit about those things when you're getting the high school pitcher into your program at Southern Maine?
Yeah, no doubt. I think, the velocity is great and everyone wants it. But to understand who you are as a pitcher is the most important thing. And understand, we always kind of start it with, okay, how is your fastball play? Okay. Are you more high spin? Are you more, going to be a sinker guy? And we start to play around and be like, okay, these are the windows that give you the most success. And then we kind of try to develop our off speed off of that. And guys got to be able to understand, like, hey, every 1 through 9 in the lineup can hurt you, at any point against these teams. And it's about throwing quality strikes, not just strikes. Okay. And like you said, being able to land a secondary pitch when you need to. And a lot of guys want to go and be like, hey, I can work on a finishing pitch. Well, if you can't throw the finishing pitch for a strike ever, it's changes the game for you.
Right.
Like it makes it extremely difficult. So the strike zone, how we kind of develop our guys and how we kind of play it is through our fastball and being able to command our fastball, not just throw it for a strike, but like, hey, the location of the fastball. Are you at the knees? Are you going to be able to work up in the zone, at some point as you kind of tick up, that's a, super important piece. And just kind of having the mindset to be able to pitch freely and go fail, that's another whole thing, that you're kind of building on. And especially when you talk about the development of pitchers, because guys in high school can go out and throw 88 by guys. Here you're not throwing 88 by
Right.
guys. You got to be able to execute. And if you know who you are and hey, this is where my fastball plays the best, whether it's, the down and the way from the righty or you sink the ball in, or you got a little bit of ride and you can, work up in the zone a little bit, like figuring that whole piece out as they kind of get here is extremely important. And yeah, we use technology for it, but a lot of it is like baseball. You go back and you watch, and I tell them to watch professional games and watch how these guys pitch. Like they're not just throwing pitches without a purpose. There's a plan going into everything, and part of the mental side of what we kind of talk about is, hey, having a plan. If you can go out and have a plan and understand who you are, you have a chance to go out and be successful, and you'll get better from that. So
Well, I'm really glad that we had the time. And parents, I want to let you know, in the Blue Book, in the app, everything pertaining to the Little East, specifically Southern Maine, when they have their camps, their coaching staff, their contact information, their social media, that's all going to be located in the Blue Book. Here in the description down below, and the podcast as well as the video, I'll have Coach Heath's email address. We'll have their schedule. Highly, highly encourage you to visit their campus. It will blow you away. See a game. Go see Southern Maine anywhere that they're on the schedule, whether they're in Connecticut or New Hampshire or Boston. UMass Boston has a beautiful campus now. Go see the games, and you'll understand the level of play and the quality of the student athletes and coaching that occurs in the Little East Conference. But Scotty, best of luck the rest of the way, and thank you so much for taking the time to join me today.
yeah, thank you for having me on. It's been a pleasure, and look forward to chatting with you again soon.
We'll cross paths this summer. That's a fact. Thank you very much.
All right, have a good one.
You too now, Captain. That was perfect.